Welcome back to the DVK Parsha series, where we learn Sichos Mussar, excerpts from the amazing work of Rav Chaim Shmulevitz on the Parsha. In Maimah Peites, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz discusses Kavod Habrios, the honor of humanity. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz draws this point out from the opening words of Sefer Devarim, Parshas Devarim, where the pasuk says, "These are the things that Moshe told Klal Yisrael be'ever hayarden." Moshe Rabbeinu, at the end of his life, comes along and wants to give Mussar, rebuke to Klal Yisrael, in order that they can learn from their mistakes and go forward in the correct way. Rashi points out, here, Moshe Rabbeinu lists all of the places where Klal Yisrael made Hashem upset. However, his chirom beremez, all of these places, all of these episodes were only mentioned in a hint form and not explicitly. Why? Because of the honor of Klal Yisrael. It's so important to preserve the honor of Klal Yisrael that all of these episodes were only mentioned in a hint form and not explicitly. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz points out over here that Moshe Rabbeinu yomim sefurim lifnei Moshe. He'd only had a few more days left. He didn't have much more time in his life, and he came to rebuke Klal Yisrael. And among the sins that he rebuked them for were some grave sins. For example, chet hameraglim. Because of the chet hameraglim, the sin of the spies when they spoke badly about the land, nigzer misa al dor hamidbar. Death was decreed on all of the people who lived in the times when they were in the midbar, in the desert, and they didn't make it to Eretz Yisrael. They didn't merit to go into Eretz Yisrael, meaning it was a very grave sin. Furthermore, the chet of the egel, the chet of the golden calf, that was also a very grave sin, which Klal Yisrael was still feeling the effects of, and we are still feeling the effects of today. And even though there were such severe sins, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz points out, Afal Pike, nevertheless, Nizhar, Moshe was so careful, Shlo lefarit es hachataim befeirush ele beremez. Moshe did not want to speak out the sins explicitly, but rather just in hint form, kadesh levaishon, chas v'sholem, to be mavayish, to embarrass another yid. Even though there was a mitzvah here of rebuke, nevertheless, we avoid embarrassment at all costs. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz brings the Gemara in Gittin. The Gemara in Gittin famously says, on Nun Zayin Amud Aleph, that the story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, that there was a rich, wealthy individual in Yerushalayim, and he threw a party, and he wanted to invite Kamsa, and the messenger by mistake invited Bar Kamsa. Bar Kamsa got so excited, he thought that this rich man in Yerushalayim wanted to make peace with him, and he arrived at the party. Famously, as we know, the host said, "Get out, Bar Kamsa, get out right now." Says the Gemara in Gittin, Amar Rabbi Lazar says, "Bo'urei, come and see kama gdoila koicha shabusha." How severe, how strong is embarrassment. When one gets embarrassed, the effects can be catastrophic. We have to avoid embarrassing someone at every single cost. Rabbi Lazar says, he points out and he emphasizes Shaharei, for we see not only did Bar Kamsa get embarrassed and feel bad, which in and of itself is a terrible thing, but see HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Bar Kamsa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu even helped Bar Kamsa in his moment of embarrassment. It landed up in the entire destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. He says, the embarrassment over here was only an embarrassment to one person, to Bar Kamsa. But nevertheless, because of that embarrassment of one person, it became a catastrophic event that led to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Furthermore, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz points out from Bilam. Bilam was also a Rasha. Bilam was a terrible person. He wanted to curse Klal Yisrael. And what was the story with Bilam? Bilam's donkey tried to deter Bilam from going to curse the Jews over and over again, until Bilam had no answer to the donkey but to hit the donkey. Ultimately, the donkey was correct. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we see at the end of the story, Bilam was not able to curse the Jews. The donkey was correct. Says Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, if you take a look at the story, the donkey died. Why did the donkey die? So there are different reasons brought down, but Rav Chaim Shmulevitz emphasizes the point over here. Shelo yormu zuhi silkes bilam b'toy chochta. This is the one who gave Bilam rebuke, v'loy hayachol lo yeshiva, and Bilam couldn't answer it. V'chas hamakom al kavod habrios. Hashem is so cautious and has so much pity on the honor of humanity. Even Bilam, Shahaya avi avois kol hapechisios sheba'olam. He was the lowest of the lowest of the lowest of the people in the world. Nevertheless, michashash lifgia b'chvoidoi, out of the concern of potentially bringing him any embarrassment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, brought death to the donkey to preserve the honor of even a rasha. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz points out one thing further. He says that, you know what, if the donkey would have lived, there would have been a potential for Kiddush Hashem. Why? Shekol haroya oiso, anyone who would have seen the donkey, haya oimer zuhi sheposach Hashem es piyah. This is the donkey that Hashem opened its mouth. This is the donkey of miracles. Hashem spoke through this donkey. Wow! It would be a tremendous source for Kiddush Hashem. Nevertheless, it's not worth gaining Kiddush Hashem at the expense of putting someone else down, even a rasha. Furthermore, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz brings the Gemara in Brachos, where Rabban Gamliel, who was the Nasi, he insulted his student Rabbi Yeshua, and due to that, they took Rabban Gamliel off from his position of being the Nasi. Who was next in line? Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua, the student, was next in line, but nevertheless, the Gemara says it wasn't appropriate to appoint Rabbi Yeshua as the leader. Why? Because Rabban Gamliel would feel a chalisha, he would feel weak. It could affect his honor, and therefore they found someone else. Furthermore, we find by the machlokes of Korach. Korach came against Aaron and Moshe, and at the end of the day, who was correct? Aaron and Moshe. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you know what, Aaron, I know you're correct, but I don't want you to go and pick up the fire pans that Korach and his 250 followers used, because that wouldn't be appropriate. It could cause embarrassment. Rather, Aaron, send your son Elazar. We have to be so careful of the honor of every single person. And therefore, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz says, you know, v'nil mad mizeh, we learn from here that we have to be so careful of the honor of someone, and uses 3 magnificent words. Ein kovodam hefker. The honor of someone else is not hefker. Something hefker, ownerless, it's lying on the floor, we kick it around, we pick it up if we want to, we kick it away if we don't want to. We throw it in the dustbin, we do whatever we want with it. But when it comes to a human, ein kovodam hefker. The honor of people is not hefker. It always has to be treated like the most valuable asset in the world. Finally, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz brings down the Gemara in Baba Metzia, as well as the Gemara in Soita that says, Noach lo adam. It is good for a person, sheyapil atzman asoich kifsan ha'esh, that he should throw himself into a fiery pit, v'lo yalbin penei chavei b'rabim, and he should avoid embarrassing his friend in public. It's better for a person to jump into a kifshan ha'esh than embarrass his friend. Furthermore, the Gemara in Ksubas says that Mar Ukva said he used to give tzedakah to an ani, and he would make it that the ani, the poor person, wouldn't be able to see him. One day the pauper ran after Mar Ukva to try and see who it was who gave tzedakah, and Mar Ukva jumped into an oven. Why did he go so far to prevent the ani, the poor person, from seeing who gave the tzedakah? Mishum, because shenoach lo la'adam. It's better for a person, even potentially to burn himself, to give up his life, than to embarrass someone else. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz picks up on the interesting language of the Gemara. The Gemara says, Noach lo la'adam. It's a good thing to not embarrass someone. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz says that was before Matan Torah. Before Matan Torah, we had the opportunity to say, Noach, it's a good thing. After we've received the Torah, we now have an obligation. Chayiv Adam. A person has to ensure that everyone around him has the highest levels of covered, that they're covered, their honor of other people is held in the highest regard.